To the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Kathy, it's your birthday. You want to do the honors?
Well, I could, I guess.
All right.
Dear Lord, thank you for the birthday. We pray that those that are still en route to this meeting, Father, that you just take and give them safety. Give safety to those people who are flying. Give safety to our families and provide us with good health. In your name we pray. Amen.
All right, thanks. So tonight is safety night, and Bob and Roger will be having a presentation and be talking about, as I understand it, the aircraft that crashed yesterday. I don't know what was that a fatality? I have no idea.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was it?
Well-
Right now, they know of only two.
Yeah, when I saw it, it was 2, yeah.
All right, that's sad. All right, so before we get into the meat of the meeting, let's go ahead and everybody get up and take a walk right with me. I want to show you something. Let's go, everybody. We'll just got to leave the camera there. I want to show you guys something here. It's going to be a useful tool for the squadron as we get 437 back.
Hey. I've already seen him.
Pictures.
All right, let's come on back. All right, so is anybody out there watching that? We just went and showed the squadron the placement of the simulator that's in the Redbird simulator that's in the hallway. It will be available to fly.
Yeah, in certain areas, yeah.
Did we decide if we're going to put a lockbox out front here? I think we decided.
I don't know, can we afford one?
Yeah. So we're going to put a lockbox on the front door, okay?
Well, we'll put it on this door.
All right, we're going to put a lockbox on this door here with a unique code to it. Everybody, that we won't broadcast that here over the thing, but the code we'll give to you, and you can come fly the simulator whenever you want to, okay? All right, and there's no cost in doing that. Just come and turn it on and fly the G1000 simulator. So, all right. So that's that. And also, we did get 2 new radios in the radio room, so that's pretty cool. But we, all this stuff we get, it just doesn't set itself up by itself. So I gotta say thank you, Mike, for putting all that together. And we spent an awful lot of
Yeah,
time.
it was only a 5-hour drive to get the red
Yeah.
bird, so
So,
no big deal.
I'm sure. So I do appreciate
You
it.
got
All
so much
pilots
time
will
on this
appreciate it
thing.
too.
Ooh, doesn't either.
Cat 437 is back here on KRAL soil, if you will. And Lon, do you want to give an update on what you know about the status of the aircraft?
The maintenance one is looking at the cylinders right now, trying to make a determination on whether or not they're going to replace one or more of the cylinders. He's taking pictures of the inside. He's going to talk to an engine specialist about what he sees and make a determination whether we get a whole nother engine or just some cylinders or whatever. They're doing an annual at the same time. It looks like the tires are brand new, and they're not signed off in their forms though, so I got to follow up on that. And the brake needs to be fixed. The brake lever,
Parking brake.
parking brake lever. There's some broken parts, Mike was saying.
Yeah,
on
they
it.
broke it apart. I don't know how they did it. Muscled it.
Doesn't the range knob on the MFD need to be replaced or something as well?
What they did is they took the PFD range knob and put it on the MFD because the PFD's not used that much. And yes, I will get another knob.
Okay, all right,
I found a source for those, so I can get them.
great.
So it's being worked. The transition of the other details like the camera and the verb and covers and stuff like that will work out in time.
And you did do the receiving inspection tonight.
Yep, I'll turn that into Gary probably tomorrow. So I'm updating the AIF, which is in terrible shape. I'm going to be going through the POH, so I have both of those at home. If for some reason it gets needed, I'll run it back out here for somebody, but I can't see the plane coming out of the shop for the next at least few days, if not a week.
All right, so there is a copy of it's not the POH, it's very similar to it because it's for several models of the Turbo 206, but it's a PDF, it's on the desktop of the computer in the hangar. In the folder it says Cat 437, I think it's Pilot Information Handbook is the way that it's labeled. But it'll have all of the information for our airplane and probably more information that we need because it's for other models too, for different, like for example, VX speeds or something like that. There's slight differences between different models, but in any event, all the information that you would need to be able to fill out an aircraft questionnaire, which is what you're going to need to do to get Form 5 of the airplane. If you don't have a copy of the PDF, it's available. You just bring a thumb drive or just email it to yourself from the hangar, okay? Or ask me and I can email it to you, all right? I forgot to say, we have a visitor right here. We made you stand up last week, but we want you to stand up and just introduce yourself. Tell us who you are, where you're from, and what you'd like to do.
My name is Dante Albanese. I'm a freshman at my first semester at California Baptist University studying aviation science with a concentration in commercial flight.
All right, great.
Good for you.
Welcome.
Here.
Thank you.
So, I'll tell you the same thing I tell everybody doing Civil Air Patrol these days is there's a lot of work involved. If you want to fly in CAP, there's a lot of hoops to jump through. You won't just show up and start flying here. It's going to take some time, but I can tell you only have to go through those hoops really basically about one time, okay? Then, as much as you put into it, you're going to get out of it. So there's a lot of really good flying to be done around here, and so welcome. And good to see Michael Smith back there. And hey, words of congratulations to Daniel. He found out this week that he is one of the latest hires for SkyWest.
SkyWest, yeah.
SkyWest. So let's give him a round of applause. That's a milestone there. That's a milestone.
Just so you guys know, that's my instructor.
And that's his instructor too. So welcome, guys. The last thing that I'll say before turning this over to safety, and then I've got to go back to the hangar and do some paperwork, is the Waldo. I wanted to talk about that for a second. So we have now a Waldo coordinator in Group 3. His name is Travis Carney. And he's going to be leading out all of the Waldo training for the group, okay? And Waldo is a sophisticated camera technology that is affixed to the strut of the aircraft. I believe that it's probably remotely controlled from inside the aircraft, so there's a fair amount of pilot proficiency that goes along with flying a Waldo in terms of the precision that's needed so that you get the best imaging possible for the customer. But then there's also a lot of training that goes into aircrew, and it's a certification that you actually have to show that you also keep up, that you got to fly a certain amount of sorties with it. It's much more formal than anything that we've ever had in Civil Air Patrol, okay? And so, and it's probably not for everybody either, because it's fairly technical, and so if you're not pretty computer savvy, it might not be for you. But if you are and you have that interest, it would definitely be something when the time comes to raise your hand for it. They want people that are going to be able to also have flexible schedules. This Waldo technology is going to be used during the fire season this year for the first time with the state of California and Civil Air Patrol. So they're going to be wanting people that demonstrate to the customer that not only we trained on it, we know how to use it, we can deliver the products that they want. So I would imagine that it's going to be a selective process. It's not like you're just going to be able to raise your hand and get in there. You're going to have to go and show that you can actually do the work. And if you can, it's going to be probably pretty rewarding work. So looking forward to that. We do have on tap for this fiscal year, we have a SARX coming up. 4 of them. The second SARX will be centered around that Waldo training and AP training. But I don't have my phone with me, but it's that weekend before Thanksgiving. If somebody could pull that out. I want to say it's November
Around,
19th.
it's gonna be, no, around the 20th.
Around the 20th. There'll be a SARX here at Riverside, and so you'll be able to get scanner training, observer training, and it's really more or less, I'm hoping to get a bunch of mission pilot training out of it too.
Yeah, so the 20th and 21st is Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving is the 25th this year.
It's going to be ELT training in particular, associated with ground teams on the ground, so there'll be a practice beacon at a simulated wreckage that'll look like wreckage on the ground, and you'll fly to it, tracking the beacon, which we've been talking a lot about lately, and how to use that equipment that's in the airplane, and then coordinating with the ground crew to direct them into where the site is. So it's a pretty practical application. It's verbatim how we found that wreck up there at Big Bear a few years ago. So it's exactly how we were given a last known fix. We had an ELT beacon, there are ground crews on the ground, we directed them in and ended up finding the guy. But anyway, so that's that. So that's something to look forward to. We are flying every Tuesday night if we can, okay? You need a membership card and a uniform and aircraft ground handling to fly, okay? So after the meeting, if you guys, first of all, it takes 3 meetings before we say,
Yeah.
write us a check, okay? The 3rd meeting, bring money, and we'll take your money and then we'll start telling you, we'll give you the roadmap on how to start getting along here. But it's fairly straightforward. You know, we've got some other people that are mentoring. Mike is a great mentor. I'm mentoring people, so I'll just say it out there to anybody that's watching and that hasn't been here in a while, that if you want to get caught up and figure out where you go next, call me and I'll create a roadmap for you, okay? And it's as easy as looking at squitters, to be very honest with you. Look at squitters, and if you're air crew, look at squitters for scanner, or if you already have scanner, look at observer, and if you're pilot, look at squitters, because you've got to become a mission scanner first. We're going to start putting you into pilot training, okay? Why is that? Well, a couple reasons. But the biggest reason is I want to know that you're committed to Civil Air Patrol. We have limited resources around here. We don't have a lot of instructor pilots. And if you're not willing to put in the time, effort, and energy, then really, frankly, neither am I. So it's just that simple on that point. So anyway, there you go. Any other questions with Waldo
Well, I think-
Simulator
I think we
437?
ought to give Terry a hand. He's got a new son-in-law added to his
Oh.
family.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Nice looking wedding. Nice looking wedding.
I got through that. That was touch and go with that Father of the Bride speech. I could tell you whether I was going to lose it or not. I did not. and videos to prove it, but
Yeah, but
It
it
was-
stays up here forever.
Little
It was-
tough, was it?
yeah, it was pretty tough. It was pretty tough.
Hard to
But,
let
you know,
go.
I'm excited. I got a really good kid who's my son-in-law, so I guess it's now for posterity on videotape. You can use. Anyway, all right, Roger. Thanks.
Thank you, Terry.
Thanks.
Thank you, Jerry.
We're gonna take over here. I gotta show them how to do some paperwork here.
Go, good.
All right, I'm
Get you
Roger.
twice.
For those of you who don't know who I am, I'm the safety officer for the unit here. And my boss, safety officer for Group 3 is Bob, sitting right there. So I always have to do everything perfect here. Actually, he's gonna be doing most of the safety meeting tonight. All I'm gonna do, that's my thing. Well, I'm just gonna do a real fast blurb on avoiding drugs and things like that. There is, how many of you here know what the FAST team is? FAST safety team is, of the FAA. It's, let's see.
FAAST are the initials,
Yeah, if somebody has.
so you can figure that out pretty close, I think.
That's the FAA safety team. It's actually a program that they have in the umbrella of the FAST team. That's a thing where you can go to safety seminars and actually get points with the FAA. And if you get enough points, you don't have, for those of you that do the biannual flight reviews, you don't have to do those if you go to these, to get so many points where you don't have to do that. Same goes for, you know, if you gotta fly an airplane, and there are several things that you gotta do. You do have to jump through some hoops, but I'll tell you what, it's a neat program because Bob and I are both official FAA certified fast safety team people. And we used to do the fast safety team safety seminars at March Air Force Base when we were doing the Aero Club before they closed it up. The FAA sends out, if you are registered with them, with the FAA, they do send out notifications of when these fast team seminars take place. A lot of them are online, a lot of them are not. If you can go to a real one, a live one, it's worth it. They're safety meetings, just like, kind of like what we do here, except we don't spend 2 hours on it. We only spend our requirement's 15 minutes by Civil Air Patrol. But sometimes I'll spend a whole hour. And then everybody starts throwing things at me. The FAST team has a couple of things that they brought out on an email that I got from them, which I get most of the time, on drug interactions and things like that. Bob and I used to have a little skit that we used to do with we did it here one time, and we did it with this Aero Club over at Marsh Field. And we did a little skit where, you know, we were both getting into an airplane and Bob has a headache, and so I give him some pills, you know, and I said, here, this will take away your headache, and it goes from there. And it was all for fun. But one of the things that the FAA is very, I started to say upset about, but I guess that's the right word. They are concerned about the drug situation, and I don't mean drugs where you're going out and taking heroin or something. I'm talking about just plain old everyday home drugs that you have at home. And they have no control over that. There's nothing they can really do. And even in the article that I got right here, they can't, you know, control that. And a lot of people don't realize what can affect them by taking just, you know, something at home. Antihistamine has actually been one of the largest things they have detected in fatal crashes. Somebody taking antihistamine. Being that I was in the Air Force, we actually had an airplane crash, and they found that the pilot had done just that just before. Now, it wasn't a direct cause of the accident. But it was one of the, side causes. In other words, it was a deterioration of his way he interpreted something. And so he ended up crashing the airplane. In the Air Force, you can't even, you ain't supposed to take it at all. On the outside world, like what we are doing here, Civil Air Patrol, even though we're part of the Air Force, we're not, necessarily under Air Force regulations under the same way that I was and Bob in the Navy. The problem is that a lot of this stuff that's coming out on the market now are things that can affect people adversely. And the problem is that, how many here know what the, the cannabis, I have it right here, this new cannabis stuff that they take, it's called
CBDs.
CBD. Thank you. I had it right here and it's gone. And it was one of those things where, oh, well, gee whiz, I can just, do that. But they have been doing a lot of studies on that stuff, and they're finding out that it does impair judgment when people are flying an airplane. Probably when you're driving a car too, but, nobody cares, it seems like. So we don't know. It could have been that this guy that crashed that you're going to talk about, that could have been part of the problem. We don't know. Probably won't know until quite a while from now. Basically, all I'm going to just say, so we can get Bob up here, is that just be really, really careful what you take. And of course, you're going into the airline, so you know a lot better, hopefully.
Well, as an instructor, I talk about
Yeah.
human factors a lot.
Yeah. Just to do a real short story, I was flying on Southwest Airlines coming into Palm Springs yesterday, right in the middle of that storm that hit with hail and everything else. And we tried to land from the north. I think it's runway 16, I think it is, or is it 14? They tried to come in, and I knew, I'm sitting back there as a pilot just going, okay, this isn't looking good. We got about 100 feet off the ground, and all of a sudden he just hit the throttles. And I just, I told you that to my wife. I knew it. And so we went up, and of course we're doing this. We're just going everywhere. I have not flown in that kind of weather in many years since I retired from the Air Force. And we came back around, and they brought us in the opposite direction this time. Again, we are just going everywhere. I could, if I don't want you to have to turn it on up there, but I have it on my video, trying to take out the window how the airplane was just going nuts. But we ran into a wind shear. Plane dropped. We just come wham. Now, I had not even done that in an Air Force plane. Now, in the Air Force, we used to always do, set everything up so we knew that always as if there was going to be a wind shear. We always knew ahead of time if it was going to be. They did too. I could tell that they were coming a lot hotter, which was a good thing, because we did have the wind shear. And it just went like that. Everybody in the cabin screamed, literally. And then we settled down, although the plane was still going like this. We landed, boom, hard, which is what you are supposed to do. Yeah, just make a positive contact and wind like that. And I couldn't resist, because as we were getting off the airplanes, I went up to the flight deck and I said, well, good job, Captain. I have not had that fun of a ride since I retired from the Air Force. And he's like, but it was interesting. Any questions on sedatives and drugs and?
All these drugs, by the way, you can find online through the FAA under the medical section.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I've always carried with me is Sudafed. Sudafed is legal. That I just double up if I start getting a runny nose, what have you.
Yeah.
If we're in the winter months and we've had these high winds, that's what I've been doing all day. You got a runny nose.
And when you get a drug, or especially off the shelf, it's a label here of things to look for and breakdown. And just go on fa.gov and you should be able to get to it. Although the fast team part of it is a little bit more difficult to get to. I never understood if they are so concerned about safety, why they make it so hard to get to it. But you can find it sooner or later. They do make you register, and if you want to be part of the fast team where you get the points, then you have to register. And then the instructors that are in the classes have to put your name in for going to those classes.
Is that part of the WINGS program, or are
It
you
is
talking
the
about
WINGS program.
just the FAST program?
Yeah, I
It's
kept
wings.
saying fast, but it's actually Wayne's
There you
program.
go, just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you straightened me out there, Mike, because that's your job as the commander.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, since I work for you directly, that's what. Yeah, I think that's it.
Every once in a while, I get
You
lucky.
wanna talk about,
Yeah, we'll
that a
talk
little
about
bit?
this other thing here. So before I get started though, I wanna cover a few areas for safety. It's always.
Thank you, Roger.
Thank you very much.
I'll have to tell you about wind shear, et cetera. I was in MD-80s out of Chicago before we got back into DC-10s, which I really liked. But we're shooting an approach into Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh airport sits up on a knoll, and then we have the Cincinnati River underneath it. So anytime you get some strong winds out of the east, it's just like Catalina. What do we expect that wings when we land at Catalina? We have the cliff, right? What happens to air? Air wants to take and push over and push you down. So the CAP teaches you to always cross the ridge line at 45 degrees because you can go 90 degrees either way and get out of it. So anyway, we're on short final. First officer's flying the MD-80, and I have it set at about bug, which is reference 15. Tower comes up and they said at Allegheny or US Air, I forgot which one it was, I just had a 40 knot wind loss. I reached over and cranked up another 40 knots. First officer says, I can't fly it that fast. I said, you gotta learn how to fly it this fast. I can't fly it this fast. I said, just fly the friggin' bug. We landed at reference. Landed at reference, that's wind shear. So you gotta take and figure out what you're gonna do and how you're gonna take and plan on it. And it wasn't a rough ride at all. But I knew that by the time we got to that cliff, it's gonna drop out from underneath us, and that airspeed already started to decrease as we got down under 100 feet. By the time we touched down, it was reference. There's one other area I wanna talk about here. We just got into it before this thing. So we have Cajon Pass here, and we got this thing going down like this. Here's Crestline, and here's the thing.
Your pin's not working so great.
Yeah. Cajon Pass, how many people fly in the Cajon Pass? Quite a few, right? One of the worst areas for icing and turbulence. Terry can tell you that. We had our old 153 Echo coming through the Cajon Pass. He's kind of tall, much taller than me. His head is hitting the top and he's got the seatbelt tight coming through there. And then we have this up here. Then we have the Banning Pass and Palm Springs here, right? There's another one that's gonna give you some trouble, especially when you get low visibility. But we have an area called Joshua Tree. Joshua Tree sits up here, okay? Just on the other side of that, up along the mountain range, is a firing range run by the Marine Corps out 29 Palms. Why am I talking about this is because they're shopping for an airplane. Luckily, they were kind of questionable about what we had left with the Aerocom. And they want an aircraft to scout that area because the FAA refuses to make that an MOA or give them control of the area. So what they do, they put spotters on the four corners with binoculars and a cell phone radio, shortwave. And when they see an airplane, they shut down all firing and it may last 4 hours, cost them money. So be aware when you get into some of these areas and you want to go training or go flying, when if you ever do that, I stay out of it personally. Joshua Tree and the local area there. And it's about 5 square miles, thereabouts. It's a pretty large area. So let's talk about this accident real quick like. It happened to be a Cessna 304. The guy was from Yuma, Arizona, headed for California. He wanted to go to San Diego. He's landing at Gillespie Field. He's a cardiologist. Does anybody have any ideas about the top 3 accident causes and who those people are? And it's documented.
Doctors for sure.
Doctors.
We got doctors, attorneys, and divorces. Those are the 3 causes of major accidents in aviation. The major causes of aviation. Why? Doctors and attorneys think they're always right, and they're gonna do what they want. The guy in divorce has got problems on his mind, he forgets about what he should be doing, and that's flying the friggin' airplane. So, I'm gonna play what this doctor has. I have the tape here. And I am gonna start it up. I hope I can get this thing loud enough so everybody. See if I
Except
can
we gotta play the commercials first.
They're called doctors.
Since I just clicked it off.
Because the height of sale of those airplanes, they're really high performance, really popular airplanes. A lot of doctors bought them. A lot of doctors crashed them. So that airplane got a bad reputation because of doctors crashed them.
Do you know how to get on screen, Bob?
I'm not gonna be able to do that. Hang on for a second.
Yeah,
Now,
but
could you probably
she's
put it up
interning
on
now.
the screen?
Divorce is in the past, so we're good.
After you get there.
Yeah,
It's what's happening to
I just had it and I just lost it here.
That's a little history on that.
Bear with me, I'll take it back here.
So if anybody wants to fly the new Redbird, get a hold of me and I'll give you 5 or 6 minutes worth of instruction and you should be able to fly it just fine.
I don't know if you guys can hear this or not.
So, you want me to put that on screen?
Yes, please.
Yeah, you should be able to do it.
Apple TV.
Can you do it?
Well, it should be.
Yeah. You have to start it over again.
That one? I'm
So,
sure
yeah,
figure
you
out
should
what
be able
to do.
to,
A lot of times the basic operating system for that's like prepared 3D, which in the flight.
If you're hooked up to our network.
Just be kind of
I'm
navigating
not sure.
the UI, the GUI,
This should be all right.
user interface.
It doesn't look like.
IT guys, I'll figure it out.
Network.
Um,
Then we can't do it.
It's different than ours,
well,
obviously, but I'm sure it's not.
is there a way you might
Unless
be
you
able
got
to
it.
do it here?
You got it?
I'll figure it out.
I don't know, if I don't have his,
I
no.
think we can probably listen.
Start focusing on something else.
But you want that experience good.
I mean, I don't have where he's at
There's a lot
as far as that.
information in that system, but there's a lot of information in that system. Sometimes you can get overwhelmed or just not understand everything that's, and the way some of that information is displayed is different than what you're used to. It has all the same stuff, it's just represented differently. Like how do you judge standard return, where's the ball located and stuff like that for coordination. So it's a little bit different. I did my training in G1000, I didn't do my technically advanced training since I didn't do complex or commercial. And you do technically advanced, so it's a G1000 in, with autopilot. So that's where I got my G1000 training. And of course,
So now when you
top of
play
it is
that,
technical, which is a
When
G950.
you play that,
Thing,
it's
so
up there. See?
Goes up there.
pretty, pretty proficient in G1000.
So you gotta find it again and replay it.
November, December, January, February. Yeah, that's on my page. Physical.
Someone's gonna have to cover it.
I want you to listen real closely, because this is cut down to just these sentences. And the individual himself, he's a foreigner. So he starts at 9. Now he's behind schedule getting to down to descent.
left heading 210, the center maintain 3,800. Air 22 officer right heading 250, join final.
I don't understand how the tower can hear that.
Air 22 Golf, you're 4 miles from Penny. The center maintains 2,800 until established on the localizer. Clear to ILS, runway 28 right, circle the land, runway 23.
Listen,
Clear for the ILS 28 right, runway 23 to the golf.
he's having issues already.
The center maintains 2,800 until established on the localizer. 2,800 to the center on the localizer, to the golf. Air 22 Golf, traffic 2 o'clock, 3 miles southbound, 5,000 descending, 4,000 to C-130. They are restricted above you. Caution, make sure one. Sorry to the golf.
Traffic advisory.
Air 22 Golf, looks like you're drifting right of course. Are you correcting? Correcting, to the golf. To the golf, clear for runway 23. 22 Golf, you're not even tracking the localizer. I need you to fly. Actually, cancel first flares, climb and maintain 3,000. 22 Golf. 3,000 to the golf. Maintain 3,000. Low altitude alert, minimum vector altitude in your area is 2,800.
Yeah, Bill missed.
Planning 22 Golf. Air 22 Golf, climb and maintain 3,800. 3,800, good. Air 22 Golf, turn right, heading 090, read vectors to final. 090 to Golf. Air 22 Golf, turn right heading 090, climb immediately, maintain 4,000. 4,000, climbing immediately, to the Golf. Okay, it looks like you're descending, sir. I need to make sure you are climbing, not
This is
descending.
important right now.
Golf is climbing. Air 22 Golf, stay altitude. 2,500 to the Golf. Air 22 Golf, low altitude alert, climb immediately. Climb the airplane, maintain 5,000. Expedite climb the airplane, please. Air 22 Golf, just level out the plane or the heading and climb the airplane up to 5,000 when you can, sir. 10 o'clock and a half mile, 1,500. You appear to be descending again, sir. Are you, say altitude? Cessna 7022 Golf, SoCal approach. The appearance is currently 2978.
That's it, huh? Oh, there's a commercial.
If you're over the age of 35, this is how much earwax is trapped in your ears right now. For some, it's old.
Wow, that's a lot of wax.
So,
Yeah, I keep seeing that commercial with girls.
so let's talk about,
I never understood one of his transmissions. Not
yeah,
even
and
one.
you have to figure out that this tape,
Did you?
they've taken the time lapse that's between the transmissions to the airplane and back to ATC,
Right.
which is approach control. They've taken that out and they've put all the sentences together to shorten this thing down. So this is probably a 10-minute, 15-minute thing. So he starts at 9, he's cleared to 7, and then he's cleared down to 4, and then 3,800. And if you start listening to what he's doing, he's behind the airplane. He's trying to get it down. He's in a 304, which is going fairly fast. And for me, I would have dropped the gear long ago and slowed the damn airplane down to get it bigger. That's me, which I've even had to do at DC-10. So what happens then at the tail end of this thing? It seems like he's saying one thing, but another thing is taking place. Can we guess or make assumptions as to what was taking place with the pilot and what he was trying to do? And then let's talk about what are some of the safety issues if you were in his position and you were having difficulty flying, what would you do? That was a fairly big airplane, the 304. It's got 2 big engines on it. I think they're at least 260, maybe 300 horsepower. I forgot what's in the 304 segment. How about an autopilot? If you're having trouble maintaining wings level, try the autopilot. Get that thing on there. Crank the heading around. Get the heading in there, at least stop your descent. And I don't think once that this guy tried to do it, he kept trying to fly it. He kept trying to fly it. And he's already behind the airplane, so now his brain is back here, and the airplane's over here where Juan is sitting. What's the next thing that we think may have taken place in this? And I have my own theories. We're going to discuss this. If he was in clouds, and he's trying to fly the instrument approach, what is very common in instrument flying that we have to fight, and that's why we have instruments in an airplane?
Spatial disorientation.
How about vertigo, right? Spatial disorientation. So you see that he was continually descending, yet he thought he was still climbing, didn't he? He said he was climbing, but the airplane is still going down. And then witnesses that it said it nosed in, which means now it's pointing straight down. So what were some of the things maybe you would have done differently?
Wouldn't have been looking on the outside and watching my instruments, you know.
Yeah, you know what I do? When I'm behind schedule a little bit, because I don't fly enough instruments anymore, I start talking to myself. I start talking to myself, because when I start talking to myself, I'm paying attention to what I'm looking at. And if you talk to yourself and you say, look at your attitude, gyro, hey, how about attitude, look at the altimeter, got wings level, let's get some power back on this thing and let's start flying. I talk to myself. That puts my brain back to where I'm supposed to be going
Turn that off.
in flying. But if I'm back here saying, what am I gonna do next? What am I doing next? Oh, it's probably advertising.
Go.
It's a,
It only rang 4 times its advertisement.
yeah.
And you call them back and say, this number's no longer.
It's somebody
service.
happy birthday you.
Oh, probably. Could be my son, he wanted to call me tonight. Anyway, so when we start thinking about some of these things here, and what we do,
Hey, you're popular, Bob.
yeah, it's been a bad day. How's my son? Hang on here. Hey, Kenny, can I call you back in a few more minutes here? I'm doing a lecture at the Civil Patrol. Yeah, I don't wanna keep the family up, but I'll get you there before about 8 o'clock. I'll call you back at 8. Okay, we'll do it at 8:30 then. Thanks. Another happy birthday. I don't give
You're
a
supposed to
shit
shut
about
those off
birthdays.
during lectures.
So anyway, so we were talking about, what we would do. So with me, I talk to myself, even when I'm out here doing a practice approach and what have you, and I see I'm getting a little bit high, I start talking to myself. And, you gotta get the airplane slow. I learned something this year reviewing Bonanza, a Bonanza program that they had about instrument flying. And actually I learned quite a bit. And I've been flying for quite a while, and the Navy taught me, and the airlines taught me. But there's a couple things here that I kind of learned it, what have you. Oops.
Yeah, some of those pens are a little dry.
Yeah.
They haven't been used for a year.
Let me see if I can get them around
That
back
one.
here.
Some of them.
I'll start throwing pins.
Okay, we got the chevron bar up there, everybody can see, right? I don't know if you learned about this thing. So if we're shooting an instrument approach and we're beginning to drift to the right, we know that the wind is coming off our left. The difference here to here is 5 degrees. Of all these years of flying, I've never given that a thought. Never given that a thought. So I can make a 5-degree correction, and then I reset my cursor. If I'm still drifting, I make another 5 degrees. But you know what I was doing? All right, Fritz, let me call you back. I'm trying to give a lecture. Yeah, I'll call you when I'm done. Bye.
What annoying little toys you have.
That's my oldest daughter.
Yeah.
So I had my oldest son, and my oldest daughter. They must be
Can we
fine.
expect another?
So, what I do is if I see that I've got a strong wind, I'm doing that, I just crank it 10, 15 degrees, and then I come back to it. I overcorrect and I take out half. But I started 2 things. Instead of flying at 140 on an instrument approach, I slowed that dude down to 120. And you can do a heck of a lot better by slowing it down and making smaller corrections, even though you haven't reached the final approach fix in any instrument approach, by just using that cursor, resetting the cursor. And if I see the 5 isn't doing it, I give it another half. I give it another 2.5 degrees on it. So when I think about this individual who flew this thing, and he gets so far behind the airplane, and you can tell in his voice that he's trying to talk to the guy, and yet in the background, he's trying to figure out what the heck he's supposed to be doing. That's my impression of what I got out of these tapes, and I've listened to them 3 times.
Do you think that he was current enough to fly IFR?
That's the other question we don't know.
Yeah.
Was he current or was he capable? What's what I'm looking for?
Well, yeah.
Proficient.
Proficient, was he
Proficient enough to fly
Currency and
IFR.
proficiency are not the same.
But that's
Proficient, correct.
practice
Same thing.
makes perfect, right?
Huh?
fact, on flying nights here in Silver Patrol, Tom O'Connor and Roger and what have you, we used to go out, we shoot 6 approaches in an hour and 20 minutes, and now you're doing, and you have to have someone help you to set up the approaches and bring out the approach plates. But I tell you, it's really a workout, and I tell you, it keeps you really, and keeps your mindset of what you're going. If I do 2 or 3 approaches, maybe every 2 months, maybe every 3 months sometimes, I'm really not proficient. I have to watch what my limitations are. Now, I can fly, I can hand fly and get down to 100 feet. You know, now if not, I just put it on the autopilot and let it go down to 200 feet if I have to, in a pinch. I like to hand fly. But anyway, because the more I do it, the better I get again. Of course, in the airlines, what have you, my goodness, you're flying in 3 or 4 instrument approaches a day on some trips. So you get a lot of practice and you get pretty proficient. You make smaller corrections. And as we get, when we lose that proficiency, we start making bigger corrections and we get a little rougher on patrol. Now, I can fly a smooth airplane, but we just get a little bit rough. So my viewpoint with this individual, he got so far behind, he may have gotten in some clouds. We had weather that day, and San Diego had some weather, and he got vertigo. And once he got vertigo, when the brain says turn left and he's not turning right, and he's not relying on the HDI,
Right.
you know, and he's not looking at that, and he's not looking at the altimeter as backup, he's gonna be sorry shit. I'm sorry, he's done for. And that's just what I think happened.
Well,
And he had a heck of a lot of fuel on it if you look at that fire and the thing. So he was killed, and a UPS truck driver who was sitting in there delivering packages was killed.
Bob, what's the full N number of that aircraft?
Yeah, let me see if I can find it for you.
There's a lot of instrument pilots out there too that never flown in actual conditions.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
first time I ever actually encountered actual was during my IFR training, but when I first encountered it, I was technically looking outside. I got spatial disorientation immediately.
Oh, yeah.
And as soon as that happened, I just referenced my attitude indicator and it went away.
And that's the key thing right there.
And I was able to continue flying and broke out through the clouds, but
But it's amazing how many people don't.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's airline pilots
Yeah.
going there who've never flown actual.
2978.
Yes.
People are starting airline training.
Yeah.
Should be required.
Should be, but sometimes the conditions don't permit.
Okay, wait for.
How'd it go?
Spaceman said there'd be ice cream.
Oh,
Forgot your toothbrush.
Don't know, huh? You
Yeah.
could just say, I don't know.
No, it's listed just as the thing starts.
Chief, got it.
That was a spaceman, baby. Woo!
Get the grocery.
There's 7022 Golf.
This is Golf, checking in on your questions here from cover.
702.
Get that
This
laser
is
message, that's
702 Golf,
From
Scout
like
Push back to
2007.
Dallas, right to right at Montgomery,
702
and
Golf?
expect on T3.
702
How did you do that?
I could just see it.
It was
So-
on
I saw it on the
the,
screen. There it
702
is.
Golf, Scout Push back to Dallas, right to right at Montgomery.
yeah. So anyway,
Talks about traffic.
what I'm trying to, you
That's
know,
bizarre.
bring you some ideas of when you get into certain conditions of the aircraft and you're trying to fly, you gotta think ahead a little bit. And sometimes I spend more time pre-flighting than I do what I used to do. That's because I'm just slowing down a little bit. Mentally, I think I'm still pretty decent for my age. None of you guys know, I'm only 39.
Thought you was 30.
Well, today's birthday gives me 39.
Yeah.
It was really funny today, I'm filling out pay slips or people that we have, that's faces that march Air Force Base for their RVs and stuff. And I kept putting down 10, 12, 36. I said, no, it's 21. Anyway, keep that wine going, guys. But anyway, do we have any questions or anything that someone would like to talk about in regards to this thing?
Is it possible to consider, given modern technology in the cockpit these days, that someone not familiar with Southern California is now being put on a missed approach that's not published, which is very commonplace out here with Southern California. I shoot 3-4 approaches a day with students, and not once will we fly a published approach. They always give us missed approach vectors.
Yeah,
So wondering if he's maybe referencing ForeFlight, looking at the approach plate, trying to figure out what that's saying, not fully understanding what's being told to him by
but
ATC.
where should he have started on that approach place? he should have had the weather that was there.
Of course.
Looking at an instrument, approach into that, maybe one or two approaches, depending on where the winds were.
This should be his flight.
And
Right
looking,
here.
And if he's not doing a practice approach, he should have planned for the published, but he didn't get the published when they told him to go miss because he's so
Yeah.
far, of course. So
well, we
they
don't
factored-
know what he asked initially either, or
Sure,
how he
what
was
the
flying.
approach was, absolutely.
Because right there, it almost looked like he's not even on the airway, he's just doing direct.
Well, you can see that from Yuma, 3/4 of the way, he's got a really good straight shot.
Yeah.
That's autopilot.
And then, this is normal though for
Right.
approaches, this is kind of normal coming into the approaches into San Diego. They always bring you south,
Right.
and then they bring you back up.
But you can see the altitude's very erratic.
Yeah, start, look
But
at that.
what's
yeah.
interesting is Gillespie Field is way down here.
It's not as erratic as his speed. The orange is his speed and the blue is his altitude, so you can see it was going back and forth on the speed.
It
But
could be wind though.
Could be.
Adjustments
That
for-
could be because
Could
the
be.
wind was something else on
But
it.
look
Yes.
at here, he's,
That's
he's
what I
a hundred,
That's-
he's 180 knots there, and he's back down here to 90,
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
you know?
Pitch
So is he in
power,
wind
so he's
shear?
pretty
And of course,
erratic
he's in the
there.
mountains,
Kitchen power.
and
Could
we just
have,
talked
could have
about
been,
the issues.
could have
with
been, it could have been weather, wind related that
that.
Yeah,
kept throwing him off.
well, I mean, up at Palm
mean-
Springs, we were just, I mean, the winds were gusting, I don't know how many knots.
Nobody said anything in the
Incredible.
news about wind, but it's very possible that he had wind, and that's
Yeah.
what.
The forecast was
Turn
70
them
knot
off.
winds in the Inland Empire and out on the desert area.
Yeah. like,
Yesterday
I mean,
morning.
It had to be pretty.
And it was, the winds were coming down out of the north and it was pretty hilly. So, it looks like he was going GPS direct. I'm kinda curious with the direct routing like that, he's going direct and it appears that he's really shooting for, Lindbergh Field is where he wanted to go.
See, he was
He
at
ended up-
816 feet a minute descent right there. 1,000 feet, 2,000 feet, 2,900 feet per minute vertical speed.
And look at
Whoops.
look at the speed here.
Yeah,
He's 235 knots on a descent, you know, the damn the nose was down on that thing. I mean, even the airlines say if you're having issues, get the autopilot on, you can always pull it out. If you're in a bank and you figure that, you know, you got vertigo, put the autopilot on, it's gonna pull you back up there and at least level your wings so you gain
2,300
control.
feet per minute. Oh, yeah, it's
So,
down. Yeah, it's straight
It's,
down.
it's really, it's a shame, we don't know how much experience he has a big airplane. I think that thing holds 6 or
35,
8.
All that means
36
is you
feet
got a
per
lot of
minute
money.
right at the end.
304 hold about 8 people?
Straight down.
I think a 304 holds about 8 people in it, max,
He was the only one on board though, thank goodness, right?
as far as I know. I
Money
mean,
does
that
not
airplane is demolished, I mean,
equate to
they said that they don't
The
know.
newscast that I saw said they were trying to find other people, but they did know that 2 people died, though, the one pilot and the one UPS guy.
UPS guy, yeah.
That's really,
That sucks for the
Yeah.
UPS guy.
So it's a sad
Yeah.
flight, and all I'm trying to hear is just give you ideas of what you should think about if you were ever in the same predicament. You know, it's always hindsight is best sight or something like that. But we should be looking ahead to see where we're going.
When all else fails, I guess he could have been honest with air traffic control and told him, listen, you know, I'm disorientated or whatever, I need you to vector me out of here or something, I
Well,
mean,
he
Right,
tried.
he should have confessed and,
yeah.
climb and confess.
Well, that goes along with what you're saying, where they cut down the transmission. Amongst the, and in between the transmissions, SoCal could have been transmitting to other airplanes, and all that gets confused when you're already disoriented, so. He
yeah.
may have heard something, but then heard someone else's call, and he could have been following instructions from someone else's instructions,
Yeah,
possibly.
there
So,
was
see,
an overlap of radio.
He's
Absolutely,
starting down
especially in
here,
SoCal.
and then it
It
starts
would
getting
take me a
wobbly
while,
here,
but I
and
can
then
find
goes
all the
up
tower
and down,
transmissions.
up and down on
Oh,
that final,
public.
Through live ATC.
final
Yeah, live ATC.
segment of the instrument.
Takes me a while to
You can't
to
hold
find
down
it
the-
though, and that one's kind
Even
of
better off if
fast.
he could
Yeah.
couple that airplane and let the airplane file, but it appears that what he was doing, he was flying by hand.
Try to call us out.
I used this one
Yeah.
when they
So
had
it's
the
really
COVID
a
crash, and
shame,
you
but
could just
we'll
see
find
that,
out
the whole
sooner or
thing.
later. Unfortunately, there's no, there's no
Right, Bob?
tapes on it.
Yeah.
What's the gross on a 304? You have any idea why?
What's the what?
Gross on a 304?
Yeah, 14.
Is it 6 or 8 people on it?
Is it me or does that say 340? Is it?
No, it's a 304 for,
Well,
it says a
14,000.
304.
It says 340 up there, right?
Still 340.
340? No, I'm sorry.
I'm just wondering, okay, yeah, it's probably, It's not above 12,000 because that would require a type rating.
Yeah.
It's probably at least 8,000 probably, I'd say. Max.
It's not a type rating?
No, because the 12.5 is when you require a type rating or jet. No, I can go up buy one of those right now and fly it, but
Yeah.
without a type rating, I'd probably easy because a Seminole Piper Seminole is 4,400, and so that's twice the size twin wise. So I'd probably say about
8,000-9,000.
9,000, yeah, probably.
Gross.
Max gross.
We can look it up. So anyway, any other questions for the safety tonight in regards to this thing? Anyway, I hope I instilled some ideas for you for the future. That's all I really am here to do and for you to think. You know, it's like, I can remember Chicago, Boston, it's a short leg. And I'm clicking along at 10.5 miles a minute. And we had to make, going into Boston, near Hanscom Air Force Base, I had to be at 14,250 knots. And I came back up and I asked the first officer, I said, call him and see if we can start down. We're not gonna make this thing.
It's a 6-passenger. See,
Is it six?
there's the data.
Oh, okay.
6-passenger IO 520s.
Yeah, it's and turbocharged, that's 300 horsepower each.
It's a lot of airplane.
Yeah, a lot of airplane. So, anyway.
Multi-engine airplane too, with probably.
And I'm flying a
conventional.
Bonanza with a 520 in it. I'm flying a 520, but I'm only a 285. So anyway, but, and the guy says, no, I can't let you just start down yet. And I got on the thing, I said, we're clicking off over 10 miles a minute. I said, we're not gonna make our descent. I said, I need an off vector, off course vector so I get down. I can't let you down, I got an Airbus in front of you. No, screw the Airbus, this guy climbed out about 280 knots and I wanted to go 340 in a DC-10. And I
They
had to
did that
slow
to me
down to
here at Riverside
250
one day.
knots because they had those little teeny
Said you
engines
can't
on
descend.
that Airbus 320 and, you know, for economy. And it was just a slow climb, big wings and slow climb. And I'm down to 250 knots, locked down at altitude, finally got up there. And I finally told him, I said, we're not making the, and he says, okay, clear for the descent. Well, do I drop the gear at 24,000 feet? No, I ain't gonna do that. I'm gonna put out flaps at 24,000? No, I'm not gonna do that. We're gonna use a speed brake, so that scares the hell out of the people. I'm not gonna do that. And so I said, I'll do the best I can, but you better, I'm just letting you know, I cannot make 250 at 14,000. Well, do the best you can. I think I hit that point at 1,500 at 200, at 300 knots.
It actually does say 340, Bob.
Yeah.
340
That's
alpha.
3-4 alpha, yeah. So, you know, a lot of times, that's why controllers fly jump seats, so they can get an idea what they're missing. A lot of these guys don't understand on the ground. They don't understand the restrictions on certain airplanes, even in small airplanes. We want you to increase your speed. I'm at max speed right now, doing 120 knots. What do you want me to do?
Yeah.
You know, they think you can get up to 200 because you got a jet behind you. And next thing you know, they said, well, turn right, you know, and we'll vector you behind them. You know. So, you just have to be aware of the future and plan ahead. And just remember, you know, we're always trying to look out here versus back here. So, anyway, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Oh, thanks, Bob. Does anybody have anything else? Remember, we got new radios in the radio room. They work a little bit differently. There's a channel plan that I posted on the wall next to it on the left side. They have a different channel plan than our prior radios. So we have 2 new radios and 1 prior radio. So we have 3 radios in there, and we also have an HF, which nobody knows how to use. Anyway, so if you need any training, let me know and I can help you out on that. I have books on everything up there, so if you get here and I'm not around, then just open the cabinets, find the book that says APX 4500, that's a Motorola, and you can get some, you can read about whatever you need to in there. They're very easy to use. Also the Redbird, it's pretty easy to use as well. I need you to log your time. If you want. If there is a Hobbs meter on it, so you can log your time. It is good up to 10 hours for APX, I think, or...
as long as you have the FAA form that gives...
Yeah, we do have that.
Yeah.
It's in the book.
Then it
So
can
you
be
can
logged.
use it for login IFR time, so. All right, anything else? New members, anything? Nothing? Okay. then meeting adjourned.
Yeah.
Try to keep it down
Make sure you
to an hour.
sign the roster for those who are in.
Did you sign it?
Yeah.
Bids
Hey,
are
Mike.
for